Good morning, all. Suburban Sentinel here, coming to you once again from deep inside the Arabian Peninsula. In the last couple of videos, we've been talking about the potential for a major economic disruption or catastrophe in the United States and in other parts of the Western world. And I will leave the links to those two previous videos in the description box below. Now, we started talking about what the face of an economic catastrophe or disruption in the United States might look like. And I believe that one aspect of such a major problem with our economy will be a transfer of wealth. And not a transfer of wealth from the haves to the have-nots, but more along the lines of what's been going on in America for the last 3 decades. And that is a transfer of wealth from the middle class to the very top of the upper class. So let's begin by examining some of the ways in which the wealthy and their political puppets will extract money from you and me. At the outset, I want to say that in principle, I am not against taxes. In order for government to function, it must have the money to do so, which requires that the governments collect taxes, and I totally get that. What I am against is when taxes are apportioned unfairly and or the tax money collected is misspent. I believe that a major disruption in the financial systems within the United States will necessarily entail major tax increases at some point at the federal, state, and local levels. Now, you may ask, what does this have to do with a transfer of wealth? Well, at least at the federal and most state levels, the politicians have been in a big hurry to reduce the tax burden as a percentage on very wealthy individuals and wealthy corporations. And what of course that means is the tax burden is shifted to the middle class. As such, I believe that taxes and fees will be going up, at least for those of us in what's left of the middle class. Now, there is an overt way of raising taxes, which is simply just to increase the rate. So say, for example, that your state has an income tax and they raise the income tax rate from 6 to 7%. And that's, of course, not exactly desirable, but it may be necessary. There are also covert ways of increasing taxes, which the governments like to do in order to try to hide the increases from the public. So, for example, governments will often expand the scope of the tax. So say, for example, it is a sales tax. They might just expand the classes of items upon which sales taxes are collected. Another way is to reduce exemptions. Many income type taxes have exemptions and exceptions. Oftentimes they'll just reduce the amounts of those exemptions and reductions as an effective tax increase. Another popular way in which governments try to hide cost increases is to play with fee schedules. Governments will often increase fees by a nominal amount, such as car registration, raising it from $100 to $125, and or shortening the interval period when the fees are due. So some states have taken biennial fees, which are fees due every other year, and they just make that same fee or even a little bit more money due every year. So they transfer policy from biennial payment to annual payment, which tends to hide the cost increase. Another means by which us ordinary folks might suffer the forced transfer of wealth to the elite and wealthy corporations is the so-called bank bail-in. Now, if you've never heard this term before, I encourage you to watch the last video where we discuss this in some detail. But in summary, a bank bail-in is when a financial institution simply seizes customer accounts or monies included in a customer account to keep itself solvent or prevent the bank or financial institution from declaring bankruptcy. While the legality of this potential practice of a bail-in has not been tested in the United States in the current political, legal, and social environment, it is almost assured that the government would bless this type of procedure and call it quote-unquote valid. Market rigging. Certainly, America is no stranger to market manipulation. The LIBOR rate, the real estate market, the stock market, the Forex exchange, all of these have been rigged. In the event of a major economic disruption, certainly some businesses will be forced to close. Now, you can bet that the major corporations and the wealthy individuals who control major corporations will do everything in their power to make sure that they stay in business to the detriment of other businesses. Now, politicians love to talk about small business, how it's the backbone of America, etc., etc. But the truth is that the politicians follow the instructions of their donors, and in general, policy favors big business over small business every time. As an example, if there is another financial panic, such as the one we had in 2008, I'm sure the too big to fail banks that are now even bigger than 2008 will do just fine, whereas your community bank or credit union will probably bite the dust. Of course, the result of this is once again an upward transfer of wealth from ordinary people and small businesses to major corporations and ultra wealthy individuals. So there we have 3 ways in which the wealthy may be able to extract more money out of your pocket for their own benefit. Now, I know this is all gloom and doom news, but in the next video we will discuss ways to either get around or at least mitigate this possible problem in the event of another financial catastrophe like we had in 2008. Thanks for watching. This is the Suburban Sentinel. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you see. Questions, enlightening comments, and differing opinions are always welcome. Prep and be safe, everybody.